Keep yourself in the loop of everything football on the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. The latest news on and off the field, be it college football, Big Ten, SEC, Big 12, Pac-12, ACC to the NFL. We've got you covered. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
And welcome everybody back to the GSMC Football Podcast, the Patreon exclusive content episode. I am your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and once again, it's great to have you guys here on this Tuesday. So I just got wrapped up with the live portion of today's show, and as I was closing out and I, do my normal take care, I, said that, and like for some reason my voice just shorted out on me there towards the end. And go back and listen to the show and go to the ending and you'll know what I'm talking about. But, yeah, I don't know what happened there. But, we're back again. Another episode, this time with the Patreon side of things now. Talked about a lot on today's show. We recapped last night's game between the Niners and the Vikings. We also went through, talking about the Niners and, some of the other teams that are struggling, at this point in the season, over the last couple of games. Really it's the Niners and the Bills that have kind of been struggling the last couple of weeks. I did touch upon the Dolphins and the Lions because, they're coming off of bad losses as well on the road. So I threw them in there as well. And then we got into talking about the Ravens and how far they could go this season. And then I just went over the standings as we normally do, to close out the show. But yeah, talking about the game from last night, I mean, my biggest surprise was just how bad the Niners defense was. Because one of the other things, too, is I had the Niners defense in a couple of fantasy leagues. Now, one of them I ended up not winning. We lost by 18 points. Bad week. But the team so far has been, by far, the best team in that league. We have, I think, over, 100 more points than the next, almost 200 more points than the next scorer. But we've kind of had some bad losses, and right now we're not in first place. But we had a bad week. And then in my other league, I had the Niners defense. And going into the matchup, actually, so we'll touch upon a little fantasy stuff here. Going into this matchup, I was up. So I was basically up 127 to 116. And, when you get the defense, they had 10 points. So, I was up 137 to 116. And the Niners got a pick. And I'm like, all right, we're good. We're good. I'm going to be fine. And man, oh man, did I have to sweat that out last night. Because Brandon Ayuk ended up finishing with 8 point something when it came to his points. Now, this is a half PPR league. So he finished with 8.4 or something like that. And, the Niners' points just kept going down and down and down. And they didn't get any sacks last night. No other turnovers after that. They let Kirk Cousins pick them apart. And I ended up winning my matchup last night. I ended up winning that matchup by 0.22. Yeah, that's how much I won by. I won 124.5 to 124.28. Niners defense ended up giving me -3 points last night. So if I just didn't start a defense, I would have been fine. I mean, the Niners allowed 452 yards in total. And I'll tell you, it looked like it was over because when the Vikings were lining up to kick that field goal, I mean, if they made that, I would have lost. But Greg Joseph ended up missing it, and then the Niners just did not throw to Brandon Ayuk. There were plenty of instances where I'm like, why are they not throwing to him? Yeah, so he finished with 8.2 points in this league. But yeah, I just sweat that out, and now I'm 6-1. Now my friend needed that win badly, because now he's 2-5. But I'm like, listen, I'm trying to stack up these wins so I just get that playoff spot. So listen, I've complained about in the past sometimes where I've had some heartbreaking losses. That definitely, like, made up for it with that because I thought I was done. I'm like, all Ayuk needs to do is catch one pass and I'm done. And it didn't happen because then Brock Purdy threw a pick to end the game. So, yeah, I looked out there. I did lose in another league by 2. I've lost 4 in a row in that league. I started off 3-0, now I'm 3-4. But I have, like, one of the highest points in the league, but I got, like, I think the most points scored against me. So that's the only league that I right now currently have a losing record. Every other league, I'm either 4-3 or 4-3, 5-2, or 6-1 in that one league that I won by .22. So, but yeah, I mean, at least there's that. Other than that, I mean, I picked the Niners to win. I picked them to cover in my spread pool, and yeah, another bad week in the spread pool. So the first 2 weeks in the spread pool, 9 wins. Next 3, 7. Last 2, 5. So what does that mean? Next week, we're probably going to get 3. And then we're going to get 0. But not a lot of people had good weeks. It was a tough week. And this week, I mean, you got to throw everything out the window. Because from week to week, I mean, you just have no idea who's going to show up and who's not. I mean, last night, I just kept saying to myself, you know what, the Niners are going to come back. There is no way they are going to lose this game. And they lost. They lost. That defense could not get stops. The Vikings only punted 1 time. And they didn't sack him once. They didn't sack Kirk Cousins once. But you know what? And that is a credit to the Vikings offensive line. They did a great job last night. But I was just like, I'm like, how are they not getting to Kirk Cousins? And that secondary got picked apart. Jordan Addison had a incredible game. Another touchdown he had. And Kirk Cousins was great. That was a statement win for him against, arguably, against the best team in the NFC, arguably. Because, some people are going to say the Eagles now, especially with that loss now for the Niners. I still am going to put the Niners slightly ahead of the Eagles, but listen, when these two teams play each other in Philadelphia, yeah, that's really going to tell us a lot once again. Because the Eagles could end up like the NFC Championship game where like the Eagles just dominate even if Brock Purdy does play. I think it'll go different. I think it'll be a much different game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. But the way the Niners have looked, if they go into Philly playing like this, I mean, Philly's going to walk all over them. I'm worried about the Niners on the back end because, and I mentioned this in like a previous show, but if there's one thing you could look at and say there's a flaw there, because how they were I mean, their whole team, like the whole week, I mean, the whole year they've looked like, the best team. Like maybe you want to talk about like their secondaries maybe being a problem. Sorry, that's my dog again outside my door. Is their back end, and they got like no pressure on Kirk Cousins last night, and they got picked apart. And penalties killed them at certain points in the game as well. They had the pick early in the game, and then a similar play happened later in the game, and Addison was able to rip it away from Ward and score the touchdown. But yeah, I mean, that was a bad play because that was towards the end of the first half. I mean, and there was nobody helping them, nobody helping Ward. So once that ball got ripped away from him, that was it. Addison, nobody was there, scored the touchdown. Yeah, that was bad. That was bad. And again, that was right before the end of the first half. Like, you hold it there, you let them kick a field goal, it's a different game. But yeah, McCaffrey fumbled. That, Vikings went down the field and scored. Because in the beginning of the game, Vikings get picked off immediately. Niners are driving. You're like, yep, Niners are going to dominate this game. That didn't happen. That did not happen. I mean, Niners, there's some concerns right now. Vikings, I mean, that's a statement win. And that goes a long way. That really does. because now you're thinking, hey, we're a half game back for a wild card. Justin Jefferson is going to come back this year. I mean, listen, Kirk Cousins is having a very good year. If they get into the playoffs as like a 7 seed, I don't know if anybody's going to want to play them. Now, I'd probably favor whoever they are playing, whether it's the Lions or the Eagles or the Niners, because Vikings are going to have to go to them. But, I mean, they played a close game against the Eagles. They almost came back against them on Thursday night in week 2. The Lions are a divisional opponent that they know well. Niners, they just beat. Now, that was at home. Against the Niners in San Francisco, it's different. So, but yeah, I mean, you look at all the losses for these teams, like the Lions, they lost at home to Seattle in a shootout. But they got killed by the Ravens. That was a road game. Both of the Dolphins' losses are road games. The Eagles' one loss is a road game. Both of the Niners' losses are road games. The Ravens, one was a bad home loss. The other was a road game. Chiefs lost. The only losses at home, but that was a game that they should have won. If not for receivers dropping passes. So, listen, for me, once again, I mean, it's like this for a lot of teams. They got to have home field advantage. Because if you don't have that, I mean, it's going to be tough. It really is tough to win on the road in the playoffs. I mean, listen, teams have done it. It's doable, but I feel like for some of these teams, they need to have those home playoff games. Because if they don't, they might go home early. But the playoffs is a different animal. So, it's different, but I don't know. I feel like the Lions and the Dolphins, they got to have home playoff games. Those are two teams that I think need it. But I don't know. We'll see. But this is one year where you look at it and you're like, I don't know who's going to win. I have no idea. I could think, listen, right now I think the Chiefs are the best team, but they could get knocked off. Anyone could get knocked off. Anybody. Because, you look at, the Eagles, they, Hurts still threw a pick 6 the other night. The Dolphins are beatable. The Bills, I'm going to run through all the teams again. But still, dogs barking. But, yeah, it's just every team right now is beatable. I think so. But we'll see. There's teams, the Niners are struggling, Bills are struggling. The Bills, I don't know what's going on. I thought, they looked like world beaters after, the Dolphins game, and then after that, I don't know what happened. They kind of just, they've crashed back down to earth, the way their offense has been the last couple of weeks. But I still look at them as a good team. They're going to be a team that's going to be in the playoffs. I mean, people are talking about. I saw something that said the Bills will miss the playoffs or might miss the playoffs. I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, right now, I just talked about it on the live show. Right now they have the 7th seed in the AFC. So, that's that's something to be a little bit concerned about. But, I think they'll figure it out. I think they will. But something's got to change because I know from reading social media, people are just obviously pointing to the offensive coordinator. And, yeah, I mean, Josh Allen definitely has taken a little bit of a step back since Brian Dable has left. But I don't know. I mean, I still think the Bills are going to be one of those teams that, can make it far. But, right now it doesn't look good. I mean, they lost to the Patriots, who everybody's looking at. I mean, Patriots lost to the Raiders. And they come back home and they beat the Bills. And that's just one example of I don't know anymore. I don't know. Niners lose to the Browns and the Vikings. The Vikings looked really bad to start the year. Now they've won 2 straight. Now one against the 49ers. I mean, I don't know. I don't know who's good. I mean, I could say, like, or really, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, there are good teams, obviously. But you don't know what's going to happen week to week. You have no idea how everything is going to shape out. You just don't. I'm just saying this is what I think at the moment. But the truth is, I have no idea. I'm just as clueless as everybody else. And look at my predictions. How my predictions have been. They've been terrible. Go back and watch them. When I do the picks for the last, 3 weeks or 2 weeks since I started doing the football podcast. How good have they been? Bad. Especially with the spreads. They've been awful. You know, like, the Niners was a slam dunk last night. You would think. Niners coming off of a loss. Vikings, 7 a touchdown underdog, pretty much. No Justin Jefferson. Kirk Cousins, 2-10 on Monday night. Niners should win, right? Nope. Not the case. Vikings dominated this game. 49ers defense was bad. So, you don't know what it's going to be week to week. Like, the Vikings are going up against the Packers in Lambeau. It's a divisional game. Packers right now look like a very bad team. Vikings are coming in. You would think Vikings should win this game, right? But I don't know. I honestly have no idea. I have no idea. We'll get into all the games later this week. I'm obviously not going to make any predictions now. But I just don't know. I mean, like, every team is lost now, and every team has had a bad loss. Every single team. To me, that tells me every team is beatable. You don't know. That's why it's going to be very important for some of these teams to get home field. So, a big thing on the show today was obviously talking about the Ravens. It was an impressive win against the Lions. Especially because last week, I'm here talking about how the Lions are the Super Bowl contender. I still believe that. But, the Ravens just destroyed them. They dominated. 4 touchdowns on their first 4 possessions. They looked like a really good team. That was the good Ravens right there. So, yeah. And, sorry, I got a family home right now. So, but yeah, they looked like the good Ravens. And, as long as, like I said, as long as on the live show, as long as they, don't, play like the Ravens that played against the Steelers where they're dropping passes and Lamar threw that terrible pick in the end zone. They could go far. They could definitely go far. And I think they could beat anybody right now. They play Miami on the schedule this year. That's going to be in Baltimore. We know that. I talked about that on the live show. And listen, Lamar has beaten Mahomes before. Yeah. But, we'll have to see. We'll have to see. They got to make some trades, obviously. I think, running back, they might need some help there, even though Gus Edwards ran the ball very well the other day. He had a good game. Obviously they're dealing with injuries, with J.K. Dobbins, the torn Achilles. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But, yeah, listen, if Lamar stays healthy too, they could go far. They could go far this year. It's just, if Lamar Jackson gets hurt again, then everything with that just ends. Because Tyler Huntley is not leading them to a Super Bowl. That's just not happening. So, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, the wild cards are it's a log jam. They're jammed up. You know, the Bucks right now, they hold the last spot in the NFC, and you got a lot of 3 and 4 teams. Bucks are 3 and 3. You know, so we'll see. I mean, the NFC South. I mean, who's going to win that division? I have no idea. I was like, the Bucks look like the best team right now. Beat the Saints on the road. Falcons don't look good. They should beat them at home. What happens? Falcons win 16-13. And Desmond Ridder fumbles the ball 3 times. Like, I don't know. And again, like I talked about in the live show, Falcons have a good roster. They do. It's just they need a better quarterback. And Desmond Ridder's not the answer. So, I don't know. I mean, could the Saints figure it out? I mean, now we just learned news of Olave and him getting arrested yesterday. So who knows what's going to happen with that moving forward. You know, I mean, Michael Thomas, he's been, you know, good for them. Caught his first touchdown the other day. But, you know, you worry about his health because he's always hurt. Been hurt a lot the last couple of years. Alvin Kamara's, you know, he's been their go-to guy on offense. Derek Carr hasn't looked great. Defense hasn't looked great. They're giving up big plays. I don't know. I really don't know. It's really, I honestly really couldn't tell you who's going to win the division. It's wide open right now. I really can't sit here and say, because I listen, the Bucks, I looked at them after the win against the Saints. I'm like, and how the Falcons have played. Yeah, I think that should be them. But now they've lost 2 straight back-to-back home games. They've lost. I have no idea. Now the Bucks play the Bills on Thursday. Now, can they win that? Maybe, because the Bills' offense hasn't looked great. But I don't think so. I think this is the game. You know what? I'm not going to make a prediction yet. But you know what? Whatever prediction I do make, and based off of what I was about to say, you probably know where I'm leaning towards. So go with maybe go with the opposite. Whatever I say, go with the opposite. That's just how I look at it right now, because I can't predict anything at the moment. I might just have to go crazy this week and just, you know, think differently, because predictions has been rough this year, definitely. So, but yeah. I mean, you know, we're now in week 8. I can't believe it. You know, we're getting close. We're about a month away from Thanksgiving, which, you know, crazy to think about that too. You know, we got football on all the main holidays coming up. You know, Thanksgiving, Christmas, you know, New Year's. So, yeah, that's gonna be well, it's gonna be kind of annoying because like listen, I love football on Thanksgiving, Christmas. I can do without it. I can, but it just so happens, that you know, it just all falls on you know, those days this year. I mean, Thanksgiving it's always going to be there, but Christmas, like, you know, some years there's no football, but, you know, last year was on Christmas, around Christmas time. This year, same thing. So, yeah. But yeah, I mean, we're getting up to the holiday season already, which is just, I mean, time's just flying by. I mean, it's been almost 2 months since I started doing shows here on the GSMC Sports Network. Time's going fast. I mean, it really is. Just flying by. You know, been very busy. I've had a lot going on, but all good stuff, obviously. You know, between this and other things that I have going on in my life as well. But again, all good things. You know, happy for the opportunity here, of course. Especially now doing the football show. That's been great, of course. You know, the baseball season's almost over. we'll get into that later in the week. But we got at least one team, as I'm recording this right now, in the World Series. We got Game 7 tonight for the National League Championship Series. And after tonight, we'll have our World Series matchup set. And, so that's something to be excited about. And football just keeps on rolling, almost halfway through the season already, which I can't believe it. I really just can't. That's why I just got to enjoy week to week. But it's just annoying because when, from a fantasy perspective, when your team loses, you're like, I want to get to next week now so I can win next week, put myself in a better mood. Because I'll be honest, like, when I do bad in the spread pool or I lose in a fantasy league that I really need to win, like, that just, like ruins the whole week for me. So, but I won in the league that I really wanted to win in. I mean, by the skin of my teeth. I really didn't deserve to win that. But yeah, I got to win there. I mean, all my teams are looking good right now. I mean, one of them is 3-4. I've lost 4 in a row, but I have a lot of points scored in that. I can get right in that league and make the playoffs there. Not like in danger of missing the playoffs, but right now not looking good. But all my other leagues looking good at the moment. Things change. Spread pool has been rough this year. Last year, I was very good. I was second place in my spread pool, my personal spread pool, and I was third in a bigger spread pool than I'm in. So I just want to let you guys know that I may be bad this year, but I was good last year. It's just this year, I don't know what's going on. I mean, I did the ESPN Survivor pool thing, and I got knocked out because the Cowboys can't beat the Cardinals. It's just, I don't know. Maybe it's just that kind of year where it's like you have no idea who's going to be good week to week. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it for today's Patreon episode. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in. Obviously, we'll be back again tomorrow. Live show will be, as always, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. And, that's it. So, till then, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day. My dog is, again, at the door, so I'm going to finally let her in now that I'm done here. And, so I'll see you guys again tomorrow. And take care. I'll see you then.